Warm greetings, everyone. Welcome to today's session. Today is special to us as this is our 50th session of Monday Munching and Musing with Women for Water. This session is conducted with the support of Water Resource Council of Women Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry in collaboration with W4W Foundation and media partner Counterview. My name is Anubhuti Shekhar and I am the National Youth Representative Community of Wiki Water Resource Council. I am joined by Dr. Mansi Balbhargav, who is currently holding the position of National President of Wiki Water Resource Council. She is also the founder director of W4W Foundation. Welcome, Mansi.
Thanks, Anubhuti.
Today, in this session, we are here to listen and know more about Pooja Tendulkar. Pooja is currently working as a co-founder and director at Lemnion Green Solutions Pvt Limited, Pune. She is working with both public as well as private sector by keenly working in the agenda by meeting the SDGs and UN Decade of Restoration. She believes in working locally to bring a change globally. Pooja, along with her team, has successfully treated and recycled a lot amount of wastewater and also has worked on restoration of water bodies with the locals. After post-graduation, she worked at Waste Warriors, Corbett as a project assistant and with UK-based company for IFCO, Uttar Pradesh. She was a visiting faculty for Pune University affiliated colleges. Welcome, Pooja. We are so happy to have you on today's session.
Thank you so much, Anubhuti, for that wonderful introduction. Thank you so much.
So my first question to you is, how did you decide to step into the field of waste, like water particularly? And how did you realize that you belong in this field? What was that stage when you realized that you wanted to work in the field of environment or wanted to contribute to the well-being of the society?
Right. So I would want to go back to 15 years. So right after I came to Pune city, for my further studies. So I did my schooling very much in a place called as Ratnagiri, a very small place near Ratnagiri. And then when I moved to the city, I realized that, the environment is very different. In the village, it's very different, and the city, it is very different, especially, in terms of pollution or, in terms of the landscape around us. So at that point of time, I realized that, I have to do something about it. But I was a kid, so I did not know what to do. I was a rebellious kid, I would say. And then I knew that I wanted to do something. And then when I spoke to my people in the house, my mom and dad and all these people, I realized that, okay, I can bring in change, but I did not know what to do. So I wanted to take up research. I wanted to be a scientist because I thought, when I get into research, I would, bring in change. So I got into biotechnology. And then in the first semester itself, I realized that, scientists can bring in change. They can tell you what to do. But then if you have to bring in the change yourself, you have to be on the field. You have to be on the ground. So, taking notes from them, taking notes from their research, you have to be on the ground. So right during my biotechnology days, I got into a couple of, experiments in my lab where I got in water samples from various rivers in Pune. I did a couple of experimentations where, I got in various plants. I tried treating it in the lab itself. And voila, now I am doing it commercially. So that is something that I realized back in my college days. So yeah, that is pretty much how, my inclination happened towards water. And yeah, this is what I'm doing currently in the field of water.
Thank you so much, Pooja ma'am. I think when I started my career with environment, I have a defense background. Like my father is in defense, so from like very early age, we have never learned that we have to switch off all the lights, we have to close the taps properly. So it was not an inbuilt thing that came to me. But when I grew up and I remember going to Tarun Bharat Sangh for our excursion, like school. So that is when I realized and saw how people were actually working on the field, how they were actually facing water scarcity. So I was just thought I would just share with you how I started my journey in the field of water. So that was my clicking point. Yeah. So just to know a little bit more about you and what you are currently engaged with. So would you please tell us how is your experience working and having your own company, which is Lemnion Green Solutions? So what are your current engagement and how does a typical day looks like to you?
I think I would want to start with Lemnion's story first because every time people listen to the word Lemnion, they want to know where the word came from. So yeah, so basically Lemnion is a breakup of two words. It's lemna plus solution. So we work with a plant called as duckweed, which belongs to the family of lemniaceae. So the first word came from there, and solution. So lemna based solution. So the plant that we work on, or the plant that I started working on during my graduation days was duckweed, and that's where the name came in. And this was in my graduation days where I met my co-founder, who was my college professor. And at that point of time, we thought, we are good as a team. We are amazing when we work together. We have good amount of energy. So we had a lot of, distinguishing opinions, but we were amazing as team. And that's how we realized we should do this together. And that's why we bootstrapped Lemnion in 2017 because we wanted to do, we wanted to stick to this mission and agenda that, nature-based solution is very important. If we are in nature, we're supposed to give back to nature. So with that agenda, we started Lemnion, and our core area of work was water. So yeah, that is pretty much about Lemnion, and now we are into the 6th year, and we are doing amazingly well. We are doing a lot of water treatment projects for public sectors like government offices and government guest house. We're also doing water treatment systems for people, and we are making systems which are beautiful looking. So we also want to take away inhibitions from people. That you can't enjoy your cup of coffee by sitting right next to an STP. So that is something that we want to help people with. So that is one bit. And yeah, so far we've done around 40 or 50 odd projects, both social and commercial, with the help of people at a lot of points where there were volunteers involved, there were people participation. So that was another interesting bit that I learned with Lemnion. And talking about how my day looks like, I pretty much do not have a routine, to be very honest. Like I said, I was a rebellious kid, but I do plan things ahead of time. I like doing that. But I mostly have like my week planned or my month planned most of the time. But I make sure. So in the initial days of Lemnion, I am a first generation entrepreneur. So nobody in my family ever did business, or every time in the initial days when I told them, these are the difficulties that I'm facing, the instant reaction to that, not even a response, the reaction was, "Kyun kar rahe yaar, chhod de." But then I realized, no, I have to stick to this. There were a few people, let's say my husband, my mom, my dad, who've always been super supportive. We believe in you, you'll get through. That was something that they always told me. So I think typically there are days, there are low days also in an entrepreneur's life. If you find it difficult to get out of your bed, I don't know if a lot of people are facing this, but it is something that you face, especially in the lockdown is what I faced. There are days, when things are amazingly nice. There are too many projects going on. The team is happy, the clients are happy, but then you feel today is going to be a tough day. I don't think I'm going to get out of the bed. So I think that is something that I learned right after the lockdown. That your mental well-being and your physical well-being both needs to be like in the perfect balance. And it's okay if there's no balance at all. You will find balance on a few days, and some days you won't. So I think my typical day is majorly about finding that balance most of the times, even when I'm at work or even when I'm at home. And I pretty much like cooking. I also like eating and traveling. So that quite balances me most of the times, to be very honest. Yeah. So that is pretty much what my day looks like.
Right. Thank you. My next question was supposed to be asking you about how did you manage to convince your family, and how did you manage to tell them that you want to
I
shift
would like
from
to talk about this. I would like to talk about this. So the interesting part is the ideation was pretty much during my initial days of my college, but the company was started right after I got married. So, that was very interesting part. When you're working in a very niche field, people don't really know a lot about nature-based solutions yet. They do know that, we have to do something for the environment. A lot of people are doing something for the environment, but they don't really know what exactly I do most of the times. Okay, they know that I don't use chemicals, I don't use electricity while I treat water. I make sure that I'm taking care of the environment. I'm bringing in birds, I'm bringing in butterflies, I'm treating water. But beyond that, when I say you have to work locally to make a difference globally, is another reason, because your every single step that you do, the light, especially the electricity part that you were talking about, what were your first step, is very important. That you should know that you're going to make an impact. It can't be just Pooja. It has to be everyone around you. Even if you don't have an academia of environment, you have to know that you're going to make a difference. Every little step that you do is going to make a difference. So I think that is something that I always believed in as a kid, and thanks to my granny, at that, I think around 50 years back, she was an MA in history, and she had very strong points. She was an amazing decision maker, and I think she always told that to her grandkids, that you should believe in yourself and you should go ahead. You don't have to stick to your gender. You have to believe what you think, and you have to tell people. And if you're doing it with a true self, people will also believe in you. So I think that pretty much came in from my family. They have very strong principles, or they have very strong thinking. Also, they listen to everyone openly. So I know when I am at a family table having dinner, um, so everybody knows what is going on in everybody's mind. And then, after the dinner, they're like, okay, I think you're going wrong there. You're going right there. And then the decision happens. So I think pretty much my parents knew how strong my opinions were when I told them that I want to take up environment, and they were patient about it. In the initial days, they knew I was struggling a lot, especially even in the college days, because right after biotech, I took up environmental science. And the thing that people have about environmental sciences, it is a graded subject. A lot of people also told me that there's a master's course in environmental science. What are they going to teach you there? So I think that was pretty interesting part, that every day was a very challenging part. Right after the master's course that I took till date, I would say. So I had to tell them what interesting things that I'm learning every day. So it was not just with my relatives or my close ones, but with also my friends. So yeah, so I think it is always challenging when you talk to people about new things, but they believe you slowly.
Right. I think I can totally relate with the last part where you mentioned about doing masters in environmental science, because I completed my masters in water science. So whenever I introduce myself, oh, water science, is there a subject also in water? What do you study? What do you do after it? So like a lot of questions come. Uh, so thank you so much, Pooja ma'am. I think it was a very short and crisp session with you. I will just hand it over to Mansi ma'am to continue it from here. Thank you.
Thank you, Anubhuti, for initiating the session and getting Pooja for us on this wonderful day of 50th Monday Munching with Women for Water. So thanks, Pooja, and also apology that we had to reschedule your meeting a couple of times. But then you got the best slot in this rescheduling. I don't hear you. I don't hear you.
Tendulkar, I got the half century today.
Yes, yes, exactly. You got the half century. So it was worth a wait. And it was really nice that you could settle with our possible date. So thanks for that. And also, sorry for today's delay. It was just out of my control for today. I could not really manage time. So from your discussion on who is Pooja, I would like to take a little bit further and go a bit broader. And you have already raised that point of working locally and having impact globally. And you have a wonderful short career with very good achievements, and we are very proud of you to have as a council member. And while you have been working in these years, you have also probably realized, and maybe you may resonate with me when I say that there is not enough women water professionals in the sector. That is first part. And then becoming a professional is one part of it, and then thinking about women professionals who are good leaders is, it's another stride by itself. So let me ask you question on the first part first. Despite the fact that women are caregiver or nurturer, and as Anubhuti also shared, and you also shared your early career experience, why do you think that there are not many women professionals opting for water sector, or if they are opting for it, what is that which is keeping them away to eventually grow as professionals?
I think when I see there are a lot of women. I think thanks to Wiki, I got to know a lot of women. They were right next to me in Pune or somewhere in Maharashtra or when I travel a lot. So I think that is one bit that networking is something that is probably not happening. One thing, and that's why you don't really know what people are doing all around the world or right
Yes.
next. That is one part. Talking about the leadership part, I think something that I believe is a lot of women or the girls that I work with, or when we do the hiring, is they have this perception that it is going to be tough.
And it's a field-based activity. How will we do?
Activity, yeah. So I would say that the leadership doesn't really have to go only in the field. It can be in the office-based jobs, in the project management jobs, in the documentation, a lot of things that goes behind the project. You don't always have to be the face of a particular field. You can always be the brain, you can be the heart, you can be the hands. So, when we consider that, that is something that you have to see. So, like I was telling Anubhuti, you always have to see what kind of impact you're making. So, that is the first and the foremost important part. And you don't have to think that it is going to be small or big. How big or small or, long term or short term the impact is going to be. Because at every point of time, when you're talking to people, you are inspiring a lot of people
Yes.
unknowingly. And I think the first and the foremost important part is awareness. A lot of women or a lot of girls, like I said, have this perception. So I think the perception has to be changed, and that can only happen through awareness. So that is another reason when we work with the locals and when we talk to them, we do a lot of capacity building programs at our rejuvenation projects. I make it a point that I go talk to women, especially the married ones, and I tell them how important these things are and how they are going to bring in change. So I think even the leaderships at the basic levels or at the grassroots levels are very important. So yeah, I think awareness is something that needs to be talked about, and a lot of nudging. You have to do that quite a few times.
So when you say nudging, I get very curious now, and a lot of ideas comes into my mind. I just wish to understand from you when you talk about nudging. What? Give me some examples about it.
Okay, so I think so. There was a project that we did, and this was a couple of years back, where I was invited to do a site visit to have a look at the site. And at that point of time, I went to the village. We did the site visit. There were a couple of men. So most of the times, it is usually men around me. There
Yes.
are very few people, especially during on the field days, most of the time. So at that point of time, I realized that right after the visit, we went to the authority person's place. And I was immediately invited to the kitchen to have the meal, and my co-founder was sitting with the men outside. And then I realized the lady was the head of, I mean, she was the sarpanch, and the guy was actually doing the proxy for her. And then later, I was literally telling the woman, you should do this, you should do that, because you are the sarpanch. And it did not happen in the first week. We got the project. I was on board. I was working with my team. But the happiest part was at the end of the project, she came to me and she told me that, because of you, because of your team, I got this, energy, or I got this confidence that, I can come talk to the people. So she was part of a lot of meetings that we did with the communities. She was part of the change. And I think that was the nudging that I'm talking about. Most of the times they're not aware of their own power. not just women, but anyone,
Anyone.
Yeah, so I think that was the interesting part. And by that, I mean nudging. You have to tell
Yeah.
people that you've got the power and you can do it.
Yeah, I think very beautifully put, and this is very common case in the women matters, because they are really sitting with lot of information, and especially when you talked about this proxy thing, and where women have the position but the male member of the family, probably because initially the seat was not unreserved, and when it got reserved, the family member or the woman of the family got the seat, and this is very natural in our country, which is unfortunate. But yes, out of those proxy husband, woman or spouse or any sibling for that matter, there are few women who really take up this opportunity, and you need those small, as you rightly mentioned, nudging to really make them realize that they can take things on their own. Coming back to the question of the professional woman, because we are really focusing here on the professional woman for the very fact that that if one professional woman is really having those leadership skills, it already means, as in your case also we are seeing one example, it means that there are more women who are going to feel that leadership, and it's a ripple effect, and that's where we are focusing more on the professional women. And this is one area which I feel even the government of India has been completely neglecting, because it is taken for granted. Beti ko bachao, beti ko padha diya, ab beti has to manage on her own. And I think that's where we come into picture and start talking about, okay, padha diya, ab aage what? Professional ke baad bhi you need enabling environment. You need all of other things. And after that comes leadership, which is sometimes inherent to the person, and it is immaterial whether it is a male or female. So leadership, there are certain qualities. So you are a leader in your own merits, in your own field, where you are going to so many places, you have a good team, you're working with so many other people and all. You need to get an understanding for us, when you are working around people, what are the reason that we do not see many professional women rising up to the ladder of leadership. There are very good professional women, but personally, to my understanding, there you have to walk those extra steps to be seen as leader of the field. You may be good professional, but every good professional does not make a good leader. So what do you think? What are the reasons why we do not have many women leaders? And when I'm talking about women leaders, I'm focusing on professional women, because you will also agree with me that actually grassroots and rural, we have more women leaders than from the professional leaders, because their leadership is based on need. They need water. They have to take care of their village. But when we talk about many a times university educated or professional, or working in the urban domain, working with the women leaders of the grass, we find less women interested in the leadership. What is your take on this, or your observation or experience? You are
Okay, I'm still figuring out how do I put it through. So it's
voice
yeah. So I
in between, again. हाँ, बीच बीच में थोड़ा सा आवाज कट जाता है. I don't know, something moves here or you move, I don't know. Okay, please try again. No, I didn't hear you.
is it better now?
Now better. Sorry, I don't wish to keep you as a stone, but the voice is breaking sometimes.
So yeah, so talking about the leadership part and the professionalism part, I think it is also about priorities. Most of the times, being a woman, you always juggle between your personal life and your professional life.
Yes.
Despite of the changes that are happening in and around us, at my home there are roles which are defined and which are not gender specific, but that is not the case in most of the houses.
Yes.
That is, I think, another reason most of the women kind of struggle with the priorities. Because I haven't seen anyone saying that I never wanted to do this. I always wanted to sit at home. I always wanted to cook. Everybody wants to do everything. But then, the priority part is something that changes them. And another bit also is a few people that I have met who are from my college or my school days, is they always think that abhi 3-4 saal ka gap ho gaya, when I come back, will I perform in the same manner? Will my efficiency
Confidence.
be the same? So I was really good in my college days. You remember I used to perform really well. I used to do this, I used to do that, and now I have 2 kids. But I said, look at you now. You're having kids, you're doing that, and you're also thinking of this, which is a very big thing. So the
Yes,
first
you are
the
actually more more powerful than before.
become more powerful, and also all the experiences of your life now. Back then you were 16, now you're 30, now you're 35. So you can think better, you can act better. And जो गड्ढों में हम लोग उस साल पढ़े थे, अभी नहीं पढ़ेंगे यार. So I think that is something that is very important, that you've learned a lot from yourself and from people around you. So I also believe in is, like I said in the initial talks also, the awareness is very important. Making ourselves realize that I have the superpower and I have to, take in the priority. Also, another thing is, you have to make your family, or the person who is right next to you, who is very important to you, to make that person believe that I will come back home and do this. But this is my favorite thing, and I would want to do this first. If you have, the guts to say that, eventually everybody will start believing in you and they will start supporting you. So this is something that I did in my initial days, and that was another reason I think I can go out in the field, I can work with my team, I can come back home, cook a feast, talk to my friends, talk to my cousins. So that is okay. It is tough at times, but you have to believe nothing in life comes easy. And if it is your favorite thing, just go for it.
Yes. So
Like your favorite flavor of ice cream or your favorite flavored cake. You have to wait until you finish the meal.
yeah, and you have to do anything and everything to get it, so it's just like that in that case.
Yeah.
So
And I think
right.
also, sorry to interrupt you, but yeah, so I think finding a mentor is another thing which is very important, I think. If there is someone who will guide you, a person will nudge you, that's my favorite word, because you
Yes,
have to take everyone along with you. You can't go there all by yourself. It is a
absolutely.
collaborative process. It is a teamwork. So when I say that, I never say I do this at Lemnion. I always say we do this at Lemnion, because I am not the only person doing it. It is a
Yes,
whole. It is a bunch of people. Everyone, right from the labor who's coming there doing the excavation work to someone like me who's sitting there talking to people, telling them what to do.
yes.
So I think that is another important part, that if you are in a community, you will be motivated. If you are with a mentor, you will be motivated, and then you will end up doing it if you want to do it, obviously.
So first thing is that you have to have that drive still alive. The fire has to be there in the belly to keep going. That's important. But yeah, I will still continue with the same question on leadership and its bleak presence in the country, with some very simple data to you. World statistics shows that 1 in 5 is a woman professional in the water sector. And by the way, India fares even worse than that. So first of all, we are short of women professionals in the water sector. And then I'm talking about a pyramidal system where there are many women professionals, out of which we are looking for some, not looking for, but the whole discussion is on some women who make it to the leadership role, or who are seen as leaders or mentors, or, or who, even for that matter, I don't mind using the word boss, who lead company or initiatives and all. But apart from the family and personal part of it, what do you think we are really not having or having in the society, which is disallowing more women leadership in the sector?
I'm not sure, but something that is my perception is, I think it also starts from your early days of childhood. When you are in a community, you're made to believe. So I remember my early days of work in Uttar Pradesh. So a lot of women were ideally told that um, you'll be married later.
Yes, eventually you will be married. What is the
You'll be
point of
married.
running around?
Yeah. I think a lot of times we become comfortable because everybody likes the comfort. If you're told that this is what you're going to get, that is a comfort that you settle with. But there are women or there are men who would not settle with that comfort, or those who will not settle for an average thing in life. And only those people are going to be leaders. But I also believe not everyone has to be a leader. Like
Of
I
course
said,
not. But we are trying to identify the leadership traits, through all of you people, because you may have met somebody, some characteristics, so that we can start talking about when we start brainstorming between each other.
and another thing is also, like I said, it starts right from your childhood. So, and like I said, I was always a rebellious kid. So I always wanted to do everything. I wanted too many things on my plate. I still do that. So I think you need to have that hunger to do a lot of things. So there are these traits,
Yes,
the power, or the hunger, or willing to do the things, or willing to go out of the way to do a lot of things, even if you have zero energy at the end of the day. You
yes,
know that you're going to die.
I
You
can
are
relate.
you
I
feel
can
like this,
relate
oh,
with it. Huh?
unless you're going to break, just move, and you're not going to break. To reach a point where you think this is the end point of it, but I'm 100% sure it is not. So just
It
go
is
for it. Yeah, so I think these are the things that we have to assess on daily basis to understand how we are doing and what we are doing, and we have to talk openly about it. So a lot of
very
times
important point.
we don't talk about it. So even on social media, we talk about the beautiful things that we do, but we don't talk about our failures. And then
Yes.
people, "अरे, इनका तो बहुत अच्छा चल रहा है यार, मेरा ही बहुत बुरा चल रहा है." And then they think that this person is very inspiring to me, but I am not in a good state of mind today. Am I going to inspire people? Am I going to be the right leader? So I think you have to accept that not all days are going to be the same. So I think that is another trait that you have to believe in. That there are going to उथल पुथल तो बहुत चीजों की होने वाली है.
And even success is made out of many failures. That is also something one has to accept.
And if that is not the case, if there are no failures, what stories are you going to tell people about?
And there's no learning. There's no learning.
And people love to listen to your stories. People love stories. Everybody loves stories. So I think that is something, talking openly about things.
Okay, I'm going to deviate a little bit in between because Ajit sir is very senior and he has a question for you. So I just take it and then come back to my own questions on leadership. So because that will also help us to understand better when you're talking about leadership. You have been doing some wonderful project, and especially nature-based solutions, and a very, very interesting thing which you have, you got hold of. Not many people in this country are working on it, which is duck. So Ajit sir has a question on how do you get interesting projects. So I already see it as a sign of leadership. You have to be able to convince people, but let us hear from the horse's mouth. Again, we are not projecting a rosy picture that Pooja has a very rosy life. No, Pooja will tell us how she gets projects, and probably behind every successful project, there are 10 or 12 failed projects. I mean, I also experience it every other day. So over to you.
One important part is when I talk to people, there are days when I feel that I shouldn't be doing this. There are days I feel, it's tough to be in the scorching hot sun, to be in the rains. But when I talk to people, they always, make it a point that they tell me that, this was the thing that you inspired us. This was a particular thing where I got inspired and I'm doing this. So I think that keeps me going. And going back to duckweed is, so when I talk to Anubhuti about my initial research days in college, duckweed was the first thing that I got introduced to because of my co-founder. And since then, there was no stopping with duckweed. I love duckweed. It's the world's smallest flowering plant, and it is an amazing water treating plant as well. So you would call it as a phytoremediating plant. So that was another interesting part that I learned, and I love breathing. I love, looking for things which are very different and people don't know. So when you are in a group of people, you can tell you become the hero. So that is something.
Yes, you have something which is extraordinary knowledge.
And also, people love to listen to you, and then you connect with them, and then you become friends, and then you work together most of the times. Or
Yeah.
so that was one interesting part. Another part was right after my college days, I got to work with the duckweed professional who's Paul Skillicon and who's been working in duckweed for the past 50 years now. So that was another interesting part that I got to learn. When I was in Uttar Pradesh, I got to work with him, and I learned a lot from him about it. And at that point of time, I was working with a team, and the youngest, apart from me, was 57-year-old. And I realized that, we can do a lot of interesting things at that particular project. And then, whenever I met anyone, talking about the interesting projects that I get, whenever I meet anyone, I make sure that I don't see what my age is, I don't see what kind of experience that I have. I always make sure that I have to tell that particular person that I have my heart in this project. And if you give this to me, I'll make sure that you will put your heart in it too. So I think the emotional part is something that connects me to environment. And when I see a particular project, so I also remember we also do a lot of projects on weekends, which are social projects where we, waive our expertise
All right.
charges, and we just do it because we want to do it for the environment. We want to give away to the environment. So I think that is something, if you have your heart in something, you end up doing it, and then you end up meeting a lot of interesting people, and then you end up doing a lot of interesting projects. So that is pretty much the interesting part
No, but
about.
you really put a very important point that we do many a time some projects which are very close to heart, and it is not really big just because we want to gain out of it, but eventually at some point in time, because you are doing it so passionately, you build a network, you build friends, you meet new people, where you can really find some projects also, and it's that those become outcomes. I mean, I can relate with my lake walks already when you were talking about like this.
The post that I saw yesterday. The interesting part is you meet a lot of enthusiastic people, of
Yes.
age groups,
And
and
you want to
then
share, what you know and what they don't know. You want to expand that knowledge.
the other way around also, so the unlearning and relearning process is constant, and you need to be open to that.
So absolutely. I mean, I think that is something I'm also learning every other day, that I bring little bit of knowledge to them. But then because there are so many people around, so much of knowledge is coming to me also through them. And that's like a major achievement. You bring little bit and then you get so much out of them. Let me come back to my questions on leadership again. And you have actually given quite a bit of tips to me about some skills, but I would still like to get some more pointers from you on some tangible skills which often people around look at, or look up to in the leadership or leaders. What would you look up to for in a leader? Probably the others are looking at you like that, so I'm just keen to know.
I think when I look up to someone, so like I said, I like reading a lot. I like listening to a lot of people. That is something that I like to do. So particularly when I do that, um, how do I put this? So particularly when I do that, I look up to them how they speak, how they are doing things, how they are how they are making a difference in the society. So that is something that I look up to. So and it doesn't necessarily have to be in my field, in the field of environment. It can be anyone.
Of
So
course.
let's say, for example, Priyanka Chopra. So I like the way she talks. I like the way she carries herself, and the way she puts her points right there in front of people. She just nails it. When I see it Indra Nooyi, I love the way she, designs strategies for PepsiCo. And when I read her book, I got to know a lot about that. So another bit is also when we talk about such people, there are going to be people who will come back to you. So I'm a very active person on social media. So the first and the foremost question that I get to hear is, but oh, this person is not doing well in the environment. You're still being inspired by her or him. They are polluting the environment, or they're doing this, or they're doing that. But I believe that you can always see the brighter side. You can see the, something that you can take. What is your takeaway from it? and only then you will be inspired by people, because not everybody is going to, be nice or not nice. It is going to be a perception. So
Absolutely. You
that is
can pick
something that
the things which you like.
yeah, you can always pick up things that you like. And if you know that person, so I mean, I have also been inspired by a lot of people who are, locals during my project days. So I meet a lot of women, and because we do a lot of employment generation during the projects. So the women that I meet in the villages also inspire me. I remember that they come to the field at 7 in the morning and they have cooked a feast in the house. They've cooked for like 4 or 5 people. They come here, they work, they go back home and do the same thing. But the amount of energy that they have. So every time I'm sitting next to them, I'll put my hand on their shoulder and I'll ask them, how are you doing this? What is keeping you going every single day? So I think we always have to see where we can take the inspiration from. Also, when I work at Lemnion, when I talk about nature-based solutions, we take a lot of inspiration from the nature when we design a lot of systems.
Yes.
So I think when you look at anything, you have to be very observant, and everything is going to inspire you. Every little thing.
Yeah, if you have the knack and eye for it, by the way, huh? So you have to have that drive for it. Let me come to a question on these networks and platforms. Now I'm going to read the rest of your bio. By the way, I learned that you are member of the International Lemna Association, International Water Association, and many more for that matter. And now you are also, a dear member of the council, because we didn't know each other. We just met through being the council member. I just need to understand from you the role these councils or platforms or associations can really play in the lives of women to rise those professionalism or the ladder of leadership. What is your take on that?
So I would say that I have listened to a lot of talks. Some of them were like really my favorites. The one by Nupur ma'am or the one by Girija ma'am were like my favorites. I mean, I didn't get a chance to listen to all of those, but a few of them that I've listened to. So they quite inspire each one of us
That's
with
the
their
whole
work.
idea, by the way, of this talk series.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think when you talk about networking and when you talk about these things, it is also what people do. And when you look at them or when you listen to their story, you know that okay, they have come a long way, and I am still in my baby steps. So I
Yes.
think that is the beautiful part of networking, that you get to learn a lot from each other. A lot of people are open to telling you, what to do, what not to do, how to do things. And then, you can go home, you can sit over it, you can think, you can introspect. And then the next day is going to be a very different day for you. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so when I got to know that I'm part of the key, I spoke to a lot of people from Pune itself, and then we decided that we all should sit together, we should meet, and we should talk about what we can do through collaboration. So that is something that we are planning on,
Very
because
nice. So
yeah,
I'm
because
providing you a venue right up front. Let me do that for you.
so another interesting part is everybody has their own strengths and their weaknesses.
Absolutely.
And when you come together and if you're staying close to each other, if you are in the same region or same biogeographic zone, it is very nice to work together. So you can collaborate your strengths and your weaknesses, and you can be part of the team and do amazing collaborations. So that is another interesting part about networking. And the most important part about networking is you should be open to unlearning and relearning.
Yes.
That's the most important part. You don't have to stick to a thing that, I am 50 years old now, or let's say I'm 30 years old now, or I'm 100 years old now, whatever the age is. I know everything in life. I have seen all the rains in my life. So I know I've seen all the climatic changes and all. But no, it can't be that. Even a 5-year-old kid can tell you that this is his opinion. And then, you will go back home and you'll think on it. And if you think the kid is right, please go back to him and tell him, because if you learned it. So I think that is the most important part about networking. You should be open to telling people what you're learning from them and how are you learning from them.
Nice. Your voice, by the way, is still modulating, and I'm hearing you best now. So I don't know what changes you made in your position and your equipment. But let me come to a question related to the Water Resource Council, where you are part of it as the president. I am also trying to really see how we can develop it further and do some things together. But you articulated very beautifully from nudging to collaboration to unlearning, that these are all possible. And I think as council and as leaders of the council, you already mentioned two of my favorite ladies from the series, Girija and Nupur. I need to understand from you, you must have thought a few times before joining the council, but you are also a member of other associations, so you know that. What will be your take on what should this council do further? Because it's at a very nascent stage. You know, we are otherwise 2.5 years or 3.5 years old, but actually the council started working as council just 18 months now. You know, so what would you suggest the council to take up further? And the focus is actually not on the water, but the focus is on women in the water. So let every woman do what they are doing good at. But then how can we really do this sisterhood and support each other or collaborate or promote, which we are trying to do in our own way through Monday Munching and other activities. And the very idea that we are trying to actually humanize these role models like you people, you know. When I grew up at the age of 23, we did not have anybody to look up to apart from Vandana Shiva and Medha Patkar. You know, we had this bandwidth. In between, of course, Aruna Roy ma'am and Sunita Narayan was not known in those times when I was growing up, you know. So we were really short of women leaders to look up to, and that itself for people like me was already demotivating, you know. I want to really create that, you know, platform or close that gap which is there in the society. And here we are. Here is a list of council members who are leaders in their own merits. So now, since if you are part of it, what are the activities which this council should do? A, to increase the council itself, but at the same time encourage more people to be in the water sector and those who are in the water sector. So there are 3 questions, by the way, I'm asking, so you can start answering them together. What additional activities council should be engaging in to really nurture those leadership skills from these professionals who are already becoming council members? We want to see more people sitting in the, not only in the parliament, but sitting in the boardroom, you know, sitting as whistleblowers, sitting as, you know, at COP, at all kinds of water events and everything, and even at the corporation for that. Over to you.
Obviously, I would love to see a lot of women because I think there is a different set of energy when a lot of women are sitting together. So I become a part of a lot of Shakti rising circles on full moon meditations, you know, and the energy that you get in is very different. I'm not saying that men don't bring that to them.
Of course,
this is
they do.
Experience with the women. That the energy is very interesting. So I would say that obviously I would definitely like to be one as well in a couple of years.
Yes. Amen.
Thank you. So yeah, so that is something that I would definitely like to see. And talking about how can we do things together through Wiki, I think those was close, or you know, in the same city or in the same state, they should make sure that, you know, if they are in that particular city, if somebody from the network is there, they should make it a point that they should see each other. Because the first icebreaker is when you meet that person, when you put a face to that name, is a very interesting part. And then you have your own perceptions, and the moment you meet that person, the moment you start talking to them, all those are gone. You realize these were just, you know, imaginary barriers, and the person is not like that. And then, you know, the conversation actually starts, and then the beautiful journey of networking begins. So I think small meetups would definitely help, but you
Yes,
can't do it.
Yeah, we are trying to do regional workshops. But I mean, already Pune people are discussing about doing small meet. You are also now part of it. Anuja, Shalja ma'am is there. You know, Sarah is there as our advisory to it. So that's why I was offering you already a place to go and do this meeting, because rest of the things will be taken care by Sarah. I can tell her on her behalf, definitely. But you know all these people yourself also, but meeting as a council is important, you know. What else?
So talking about networking, I think another interesting part is because of you, because of this whole team, W for W, we also got to know a lot about the women that are actually working in the
That's,
leadership roles.
I think for me also, it's the biggest achievement. Huh?
Very interesting part, really. And my question to you would be, how do you find these people?
I'm fishing. You know, I love fishing. I love fishing. I just sit quiet in my house and I'm fishing a woman all over the country.
You find the gem of people. I mean, really, how do you find the precious ones? So that I think is very interesting part that I am part of this, and I think I'm really happy to be part of this network. So I get to listen to a lot of people, and I'm really looking forward to many more interesting sessions and many more interesting meetups. And if you need anything from my end, or you let's say our
That was
end,
my next question, by the way. So please go ahead. That is my anyway last question to you.
I would want to definitely tell you what would I bring to the table. I would love to, get in touch with people who are, working in different sections of India, different parts of India. So, something that I'm doing here in Maharashtra, I would want to do somewhere in Delhi, somewhere down in the south, somewhere in the east or in the west, wherever I can, because not one single person can do everything. Like I
Absolutely.
said initially, collaboration is very important. So if somebody is working on the policy, they would want someone to design and plan something, and then the planner would want someone to execute it. And once
Yes.
the execution is done, somebody will need to maintain it, talk to people. So everybody will have their role. So everybody would need to understand what are their strengths and what will they bring to the table. So I think when I look at all the 50 sessions that we had so far, every woman or every expert had the strength of their own, and they were very different from each other. So I think that was the very interesting part that I learned from all the sessions, that we can learn a lot from each other and we can do amazing as a team.
Absolutely. That is also the whole idea, Pooja. And you can imagine how rich I feel with all these women around and learning from them day in and out, you know. I mean, I almost feel like I have lived their life now. I mean, the way I know them so thoroughly, and listening to their life stories itself is so enriching for me. I mean, I can't really ask more from life when I am heading this council, but heading is one part, but knowing everyone so thoroughly and everyone feeling so comfortable to interact in this whole network itself is a big achievement. But we do hope to do more things in future also together. And let me tell you also that there are a few collaborations already happening at the background, because people always write in the little group we have, and WhatsApp has come as very handy tool. And people write that we are looking for A, B, and Z. And then other people are just going further and discussing, and they form their little group and so on and so forth. And that's how, by the way, we did the World Water Week, and with 9 people talking in 1 hour, we curated it for 3 months, with all these big shots speaking. And of course, otherwise also, we also recently actually submitted a proposal on nature-based solutions. So hopefully we also get to work together on that. And I leave it for now for this conversation, because if we go into the nature-based solution discussion and duckweed, we need a different session altogether. And I will really invite you to talk about it in the regular scientific session of Wednesdays for water. But right now we are more interested to know Pooja, the woman in the water sector. So I must stop here from my end. Thank you so much, Pooja. And it's lovely talking to you. We still have a question which is very interesting, and that's why mentoring, you started with the same point, and that's why we have people like Anubhuti and others who are really taking charge of this series. I'm just the face, but trust me, it's all done by them. So thanks to Anubhuti, and I'm handing it over to you to do the last question, and also vote of thanks for the series. Anubhuti. Thank you, Pooja.
Thank you so much, Mansi ma'am, for those wonderful questions. And thank you so much, Pooja ma'am, for giving a short and crisp insight of how you manage all these years. Right now we were talking about nature-based solution. To just give an overview, I also did my master's thesis on nature-based solution, and I was working with CEW also on a project in nature-based solution. So I would love to know more about how you are working, what you're working on. But to jump into what we are talking here, and like you mentioned about mentorship and how it's really important to have a good mentor, what do you think, any message that you would like to share with the young professionals who are entering the water sector, or the women who are entering the water sector? Any message that you would like to give to them?
That is a very interesting question. That is a question that I get asked often. So I think I would like to say that go experience it yourself. Most of the times we believe in somebody else's experience, and then we make a perception about it, and then we believe this is it. I won't be able to do it. It is tough. It's like for a Maharashtrian to go in Delhi. There is a fear. There's a fear of unknown. And Delhi is an amazing place.
दिल्ली के लिए तो सबको fear है यार.
Then I mean, just an example. I don't want to put cities or somebody into place, but yeah. So that is something that you should experience the fear, anything, all by yourself, and then see how things are for you. So when I took up my first job, it was in Jim Corbett National Park, and I never knew that I'll stay in a forest for a couple of months. But I tasted the experience of staying in a Corbett Reserve, like in the Tiger Reserve, and it was very interesting experience for me. Though I got a lot of criticisms and a lot of no-nos before taking up the job, but it was an amazing experience. So I think just go for it is something that I would say. Another thing is make sure that you go speak to someone who's experienced. So if you have your doubts, sometimes it is fair to have the doubts because we are not really in that place. So make sure you go to an expert, you talk to that person openly, tell them this is what I'm feeling, this is what I want to do, what do you think? And then come back home and just think over it. You have to introspect. You don't really have to take their decision as the final one. You can think on it and then you can do it. So that is something that is very important. So don't fear of the unknown. Second thing is make sure you go for it always, every time. And the third part would be, if this is something that I also told initially, is if you think you are in your lowest state of energy, you're not going to break, you're not going to die. Just go for it. And you'll be able to do it. So I think these are a couple of things that I think I would like to tell them. Jao yaar, kar lo.
It reminds me of the line from Ja Simran ji le apni zindagi. Okay. Anubhuti? Yes.
Yeah. I think you have very wonderfully put that go and experience all the fears by yourself. Then only you will be able to take a wise decision of what works for you or not. Thank you so much, Pooja ma'am. I hope you felt that the conversation was flowing like water and enjoyed the conversation. It's like be like water and I am water. May Pooja ma'am remain an inspiration to all of us. We are very grateful to have learned about your water endeavors today. May you continue your water activities and please keep us posted on what you are working on, all the projects that you do. We would love to put it on our social media as well. We shall continue our Monday Munching session every Monday at 5 p.m. Next coming Monday, we are having some youth council members on the session at 5 p.m. You may please follow our social media platform for the regular updates. Thank you so much. Please take care. Mansi ma'am, you are on mute.
Yeah, thank you so much, Pooja and Anubhuti. Thank you. Learning always.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Anubhuti. We talk outside the meeting. Otherwise, rest karo and then we will talk. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks. Thanks. I'm closing the meeting. Okay.